Welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. As we do every week, we are breaking down the NFL playoff picture entering Week 14, where things sit in both the NFC and the AFC. Let's begin with a brief overview of the AFC. The Patriots are the number 1 seed right now at 11-2. The Broncos, the number 2 seed at 10-2. There is a 2-game gap between the 3 and also the 5, 6, 7 teams because the playoff picture gets weird sometimes. Ravens had the tiebreaker over the Steelers, who are not dead yet. Texans and Chiefs also fighting for their playoff lives. In the NFC, the Bears have the number 1 seed. They have the tiebreaker for now, at least, over the LA Rams. That could ebb and flow as the season goes on, of course. Eagles have the 3 seed at 8-4. Bucks at 4-7. Rams have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks, by the way, at 9-3. Packers are 8-3-1. Niners are 9-4, which somehow feels right for a record for the 49ers, inverted. Lions, Cowboys, Panthers among the teams that are still fighting for playoff lives. Now, if you want weekly playoff picture videos, clinching scenarios, there are no clinching scenarios yet, but I do think there is a chance we get some next week, depending on what games and outcomes, how they all play out. Bit late in the season, not have any clinching scenarios, but there are some elimination ones we'll discuss. Help us out if you want that stuff each week by sharing today's video on social media. All right, let's go in depth on the AFC. That one changed the most, or at least was the most recently updated, thanks to the Patriots win over the Giants, 33-15 in Week 13. The Patriots actually have their bye, and then they get the Bills in Week 14, which would be a sweep for the Bills, or for the Patriots or the Bills, which matters oh so much there. And then get the Ravens, Jets, and Dolphins to wrap up their season. The playoff probability you see on each of these is per next-gen stats. So the Patriots, there is a minute scenario in which they lose out and don't get in, but it's essentially 0. Greater than 99% there. All right, Denver, the number 2 seed, the overtime thriller over the Commanders. 5 games left. The Raiders, a very winnable game. And then things do get more challenging against 4 potential or at least playoff fringe teams in the Packers, the Jags, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. 99% right now for the Denver Broncos. Most years, 10 wins gets you in. There's just might be 11 in either the AFC or the NFC this year, but they're in good shape. Jacksonville's getting hot at the right time. An easy win over the Tennessee Titans, and they control their destiny in the AFC South. They have 2 more games against the Colts, which will matter oh so much. They've also got the Jets, the Broncos in a big game, and again, the Titans. If the Jags can split against Indy, take care of business against the Jets and the Titans, you would, in theory, think that puts them in a really good spot to take care of business and take control of the AFC South. So who wins the AFC South? Now suddenly up for grabs. C for the Colts, J for the Jaguars, or T for the Texans? Sound off in the comments of today's show. The Ravens are the number 4 seed, but they had a bad loss against the Bengals in Week 13. Could have put them a game up, and not just tiebreaker up over the Steelers. But they have 2 more games against Pittsburgh, which will have massive implications for the AFC North. Bengals, Patriots, and Packers are the remaining games left. You kind of wanted to sweep the Bengals if you were the Ravens. That would have given you some buffer. It's going to come down to the wire, maybe even down to the final game of the season between the Ravens and the Steelers. The Chargers are the number 5 seed here. They took care of business fairly easily over the Raiders. They've got the Eagles coming up on Monday Night Football, which is a massive game for both teams. They've got the Chiefs still, Cowboys, Texans, and Broncos. So at minimum, they're going to control their destiny, but that is not exactly an easy path for a very banged-up team. We'll see how Justin Herbert looks with the hand surgery. I think he's going to play against the Eagles, but LA's got a pretty tough stretch here down the stretch. That sounded bad. But anyway, the Colts, the number 6 seed. Kind of an unfortunate loss against the Texans. 2 games against the Jags matter a lot, but also Seattle, San Francisco, and Houston. They play potentially 5 playoff teams. Houston game may or may not matter at all for one of those teams down the stretch. As good as the Colts had looked for so much of the season, the ride's gotten a little bit bumpy, and they're going to have to find a way to level things off here in the not-too-distant future. The Colts at number 6, a Week 13 win over, the Bills at number 7, Week 13 win over the Steelers. Bengals, Patriots, Browns, Eagles, and Jets. Overall, that schedule's not that hard. I think that this is a stretch of games the Bills should be able to win, should be able to take care of business, and get themselves into the playoffs, even though a lot of the big-name quarterbacks are not guaranteed right now. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It is the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a new feature. Prize Picks has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. It's simple to play. You pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. Get those picks right, and you could cash in. It's available now in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. One of our Prize Picks lineups this week, including the ever-important Thursday night game, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. Jake Ferguson, more than receiving yards. Javonte Williams, more than rushing yards. And then Will Anderson on Sunday night, more than a quarter of a sack, so just a half sack. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. The Houston Texans also going on a bit of a heater as of late, keeping those hopes alive. Borderline elimination game this week against the Chiefs. Winner of that game gets to 8 wins or 7 wins in the Chiefs' case. Tiebreaker, it boosts. Loser, it might be too much to overcome at that point. Texans' schedule, though, Cardinals and Raiders, wedged between the wedge before, the Chargers and Colts. They're not out of it yet. See how they fare with the defense playing lights out. The Steelers got their butts kicked by the Bills and now face, not technically a must-win game, but like, boy, you got to have it game against the Ravens. Then the Dolphins, winnable game. Lions going to be tough. Browns, be able to win that game. Pittsburgh's not out of it, but they really have to kind of wake up for an offense that just hasn't hit a pass of 20-plus air yards in 3 games, which is absurd. They're like 0 of 13. It's been over a month of real time with the buys and stuff. They got to get something going moving forward. So who wins the AFC North? R for the Ravens, S for the Steelers. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Sorry, Bengals, but hey, we'll talk about you in a second. The Chiefs, that was a painful loss against the Cowboys, and now they pretty much have to win out because they lose a bunch of the tiebreakers. They don't have a lot of advantages in that area. Texans, Chargers, 2 playoff potential teams. Titans, Denver, and the Raiders, 2 of those should be wins, but if the Chiefs win 4 of those games, they might be the 10-win team that gets left out because of tiebreakers. Now for the other 4 teams who are not technically eliminated yet. The Bengals have a 2% chance, the best of anybody, if they win out. Probably not going to happen. The Jets and the Browns facing elimination scenarios this week. They are eliminated with the Jets, a loss to the Dolphins, or if the Bills win and the Jags or the Texans win. That is the scenario that these teams currently face. The Browns, meanwhile, very simply, are eliminated with a loss against the Titans, who are already out. The Raiders and Titans, as we have discussed previously, are already eliminated, so those teams don't have anything to play for outside of draft positioning pride and maybe their coaches' jobs. Number 1, the Bears in the NFC. Big win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Their schedule is tough. 2 games against the Packers that could very well determine who wins the NFC North and maybe gets the number 1 seed, potentially, at least impacts it. They also got games against the Niners and the Lions to wrap things up. 10 wins should get you in, but the tiebreaker scenarios, the tie that is involved with the Cowboys means maybe it's not quite enough. The Rams, the number 2 seed. I am shocked that they lost against the Panthers. That one caught me very much off guard. Schedule, not that daunting. 2 games against the Cardinals, a game against the Falcons, which means double for the Rams because they have the Falcons' first-round pick, and then games against the Lions, and potentially for the division against the Seahawks, although the Niners are now very much back in that conversation. Rams in a very good spot to win, to at least make the playoffs at minimum this year. I had said the Rams were the best team in the NFL going into this week, and then they got beat by the Panthers, and now it's like, what do we do? So who is the best team in the NFL? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 3, the Eagles, and they are kind of teetering a little bit. Things are getting a little dicey. Big game against the Chargers. They do have 2 games against the Commanders and the Raiders, which are very winnable games. Tough one against the Bills. The Eagles have to start winning. They are kind of reminding everybody of 2023, where it got a little dicey and it all kind of fell apart and the wheels fell off. They don't want that to happen again this year. Good news is their defense is much better at this time. Number 4, the Buccaneers, 7-5 with a very manageable schedule. They play, in total, 1 team with a winning record. That's the Panthers twice, but if they take care of business, those teams don't have any winning records. The Saints, the Falcons, the Dolphins still. Those 2 Panthers games will matter a ton for the NFC South. Bucs just got to take care of business, and they will win the division. The Seahawks, number 5 here, 9-3, losing the tiebreaker against the Rams head-to-head. They get a chance to avenge it in 2 weeks. Falcons, Colts, Rams, Panthers, and the 49ers. Relative to the rest of a bunch of NFC teams playing a bunch of good teams, Seattle's schedule isn't as daunting. Green Bay, a nice win over the Lions on Thanksgiving, which is a statement that has been said many times before. Bears in a big game, then Denver and the Bears again. Then the Ravens and Vikings. So the Vikings don't look nearly as good as we thought they might be going into the year. The Ravens are kind of teetering a little bit. But Bears, Broncos, Bears in a 3-game stretch. Massive for Green Bay, who is not out of the number 1 seed. In fact, this is what's so crazy about it. The difference between the number 1 seed, right now the Bears at 9-3, and the Niners at 9-4 is a half game. That is the difference between having the number 1 seed and being the 7 seed right now. I don't think that's happened this late into the season before. Their schedule, not that hard. Bye week coming up this week. Titans, Colts, Bears, Seattle. The Titans win is going to get them to 10. Does get harder after that, but the bye comes at a pretty good time for a very banged-up team. Those last 2 wins by the Niners, especially the one over the Panthers, means a lot for that organization. They've put themselves in a pretty good spot despite all of the injuries. Who comes out on top in the wild NFC West? SEA for the Seahawks, SF for the 49ers, or LAR for the Rams? Go vote in the comments. Number 8, the Detroit Lions. They are on the brink. A couple losses in a row. They're very banged up right now. They face the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football in a borderline elimination game for both of these teams. The loser is going to have a really hard time finding their way into the playoff outlook here. They also got the Rams, Steelers, Vikings, and Bears down the stretch, which really does put them in a pretty unenviable situation as we sit right now. Number 9, the Dallas Cowboys, 6-5-1. They are having the tie, which complicates things, obviously. But they've won 3 games in a row, 2 of which they've been underdogs. They're now road dogs again against the Lions. They win that game, and the Eagles start to sweat a little bit. And maybe some of the wild card teams start to sweat a little bit. The Vikings game doesn't look as daunting. The Chargers game is still going to be tough, but not as daunting. The Commanders game is very winnable, even on the road on Christmas Day. And the Giants are bad. Cowboys got a chance here. We have hit the 423,000 subscriber mark. Thank you all so much for that. Help us get to 424K. Hit that sub button for free videos each and every single day right here on the channel. Number 10, the Panthers. They sit at 7-6. They got the big win over the Rams to keep their playoff hopes alive. They have their bye this week, which is worth mentioning. And then they control their own destiny still. The Saints, the Bucs twice, and Seattle. That Panthers-Bucs game carries a lot of playoff implications because, you know, maybe the Panthers are down a game or 2 at that point, but they got 2 games still. They're very much in the mix. 3 teams that are not technically eliminated yet, but all 3 of these teams could/should be eliminated after this week's slate of games. Falcons, Vikings, Commanders are all officially out of it if they lose. The Commanders also eliminated if the Eagles win this week. So those teams are not technically dead, but read between the lines, it's all but over now.